all are doing well out there. And I'm hitting you up with the second part of my three-part series on honor killings, which I didn't plan it this way, but it seems to be coming out at informative time with what's going on in the world with Iran and that type of thing going on, or women's rights in generals, and trying to have control over our own bodies and a say-so over what happens to us as well. So the story I want to talk to you about tonight is one that I had heard about a few years ago, and it captivated me totally and completely. And I think it would captivate you too if you haven't already heard anything about it. It's going to be about Sarah and Amina Saeed and their dad, Yasser Saeed, and their mother, Patricia or Tizzy. I refrain from wanting to call her that, but it is what it is. And Saeed was born in Sinai, Egypt. He came to the U.S. on a student visa in 1983. And Saeed married Patricia or Tizzy Owens in February of 1987 when he was 30 and she was 16. Now, who in the hell allows something like that to happen? Oh my God. I mean, these aren't the old days anymore. You don't need the covering of a man to support you and to shelter you. You're not some lily white, passion flower that's going to fall apart at the, first sign of struggle. Patricia later alleged that Saeed abused her during the marriage. Amina was born in 1989 and Sarah was born in 1990. The couple also had a son, which they named Islam Saeed. If that doesn't tell you everything about everything, okay. Born in 1988. And Saeed had a previous daughter born in 1987 with another woman, said later became a permanent resident, eventually gaining citizenship in 1997. Apparently, Saeed really loved being in the United States, and even apparently after the execution of his daughters, he chose to stay here in the United States because he just felt like he should have the best of both worlds, but his daughters should not, because he was totally against them marrying westernized men. So, the family permitted him to marry Patricia, and she was at first 16. I find this insane and incredibly abusive, even without what he did to her, which he did. He had very many extramarital affairs and had an additional child because of that too. Sarah got an after-school job working in a convenience store. Saeed began videotaping her at work and punished her for smiling too much at the customers, like WTF. Amina was starting to take Taekwondo classes, and I bet that made her feel so independent. Like, they want you to live in the Western world, but they want to bring their twisted way of what their culture should be here and wanting you to honor it, which I think is weird. I mean, I know you want to keep your cultural differences. I agree with that, but this is taking it to another level. While she was taking Taekwondo, Amina began dating a boy named Joseph Romero, whom she fell in love with instantly. Well, Noah said that it was love at first sight. He was doing something like push-ups and just fell over when he saw her. Over time, she confided in Moreno and his mother about the abuse that she was experiencing at home. The mother then took her to the hospital to confirm, because it was the most extreme kind of abuse that a female can endure, and many other people. But when they did physical testing on her, there was no evidence to show that this abuse had taken place. When Saeed was out of the country, she would feel really anxious about meeting Moreno, imagining that Saeed would be watching her with his binoculars, and not far from the truth. If he wasn't, he probably had somebody watching him. And I think part of it was the shame factor in the culture that he came from, but I think there was a perversion. If you see the video that he made of him and the way he talks about him, that he felt like they were his property. It was made mention of the fact that he really wasn't into religion, but I guess, when it serves your purpose to utilize it, you will. So, when he would take cover there under the religion or whatever, then they had to honor what he said. But when he's abusing them, which I'm sure that the religion wouldn't approve of that, he felt okay with that too, or whatever it is that he was doing here, that was all right as well. So, um, eventually her father became suspicious of her activities. Well, he was probably suspicious of it all along and probably monitoring the whole time. But eventually there was something there to monitor. So you found a note that she had written to Moreno, and they used to exchange notes from what Moreno said in the hallways walking to school. Just short little things, but the dad found one of these and she was trying to make up how if she'd had a normal life, this is the type of note that she would write. She wasn't really writing a note to anybody. But that lights a flame. He's going to be like, oh, well, she's of age now. I want to have sex with her. Probably other guys are wanting to have sex with her at the same time. So, oof. And if they did call the police for help or anything like that, there was little to no assistance there. And when they did finally get him in jail, the whole family got on these two girls and insisted and insisted and insisted that they recant their stories so the dad could get out. So he does eventually get out because the pressure becomes too much for them. I mean, they're only young girls. I mean, Amina was like 16. And finally, they cave into the pressure and they agree to recant the stories that they said. So the dad gets out of jail, and guess what? Goes back home and continues this abusive status that he has in his house. And I don't know what's going on with Patricia or Tizzy or whatever you call her, because she seems like she's half out of her mind. You would think that even if your dad doesn't protect you, that your mother would. I can speak from experience because I've been put in a position where I had to defend my children against their father. So, yeah, uh, totally. That's screwed. You would think out of all the people in the world that you could trust to protect you and keep you safe, it would be your mom. Not to have your mom sell you out from underneath you, even if it means your life is at stake. But anyway, back to the story at hand. As I said, the family, I guess this Saeed Yasir guy, he had other brothers as well. And of course, they all just came together and they would just all come down on this family. The one brother did send all of his daughters to Egypt, so I guess they're just queens of the block there. And there's nothing to be said about that. They did try to reach out to these people, and the women are like, oh no, don't come around here and talk to us. And it led to death threats on the people doing the documentary. So then they didn't reach out to that family anymore. Yeah, wonder why. Anyway, so the guy got accused of it, and then he goes back at home and he's there living with them again and, just having a good time. And they're afraid of the whole family, the whole situation. You can't trust the mom, you can't trust the dad. I don't know what's going on with the son at this point in time, because I heard there was a point in time he was like kind of Western, but then they kidnapped him and sent him to Egypt, and I guess they brainwashed him and he's no longer that same person anymore. And Saeed moved his family about 20 miles to a new house in Lewisville, Texas, prompting Amina to make plans to run away with Moreno and get married. Because as soon as he found out about this letter, that this love letter, I mean, the next day they were just gone because he wasn't having that, the whole I own you, you'll do what I say kind of thing. So, Amina made plans to run away with Moreno and to get married in Vegas, and they wanted to start a new life. Then Moreno dropped out of school to earn money so that he could save up enough for them to take off and be together. And his mom really liked Amina too. And she finally started confiding in the both of them as to what was going on. Moreno also stated that Saeed regularly threatened Amina and she knew that he meant it. I mean, if he had the opportunity, he would definitely take advantage of it. Amina was worried that Moreno would likely be killed by her father too, because he had been trying to find out who this or I say gentleman, but I'm sure he didn't think of it that way, who this guy was, where he lived, anything that he could find out, because he really wanted to have Moreno killed. And she knew that. She knew her life was in danger as well as his, just simply because they fell in love together. Some crazy kind of, what do you call it? Romeo and Juliet kind of stuff going on. So this was putting a wrench in Yasir Saeed's plans for his girls, because he was planning on sending them back to Egypt, where they were going to be sold to the highest bidder. And then they would be, to even think of the kind of life that they would have. I don't blame them for finding back, because I agree with Amina. It may have been better to be dead to be put in a life like that. So Amina, in the meantime, was getting stalked by her dad. He had bugged her car. He was monitoring all her actions. Sent a letter to had them send a letter to her boyfriend and the mom saying that she was okay. Her dad had beaten her so badly for not releasing the name of Moreno, pardon me. My name used to be Romero, that she began to be fearful. And it led to a bad circumstance for her, because she felt like she really needed to protect the love of her life. And still thinking innocently that they were going to be able to run off and be together, she didn't want to give any clue as to what he could be or where he's at. So when they left, I mean, there's no trace to be followed. After Christmas in 2007, Amina and Sarah ran away. They took Crazy Patricia with them because they figured she wanted to get away from her situation, which indeed was a lie, because even in that state of mind, she had known that she was going to do everything that she could to stop what the girls wanted to do. Instead of supporting them, she secretly kept in contact with the Saeeds when she was on the run with her girls, and they were thinking that they were all going to be protected by going to Oklahoma, where Amina's boyfriend had relatives. Patricia allegedly told her daughters that December 31st was her mother's death anniversary, and that she wanted to drive to East Texas to put flowers on her grave. However, Yasir, after having inundated Patricia with phone calls from himself and other relatives that were initially unsuccessful, eventually convinced her to return home to the girls. When Patricia communicated this change of plans, of course, the girls are going to get upset. Sarah reluctantly agreed to return, while Amina refused. She wasn't having it. She knew what was up, and I don't know why Sarah was going along with it, but she wasn't having it, because I heard that Sarah had a boyfriend too. Maybe not as into it as Amina and Moreno were. Patricia drove to the friend's house, where Amina refused to go back, and I guess just pounded on the door, making a complete fool out of herself, starting an argument with Amina to convince her to return to Saeed. Amina still refused to go, and I don't blame her. I'm sorry that she did eventually recant and end up going. On January 1, 2008, Yasir Saeed took Amina and Sarah to his taxi cab, kissed them, and told them he was taking them out to eat. Because let me catch up with the story here. So they were gone, and Patricia just kept on Amina and kept on Amina and kept on Amina till it broke Amina down, and she finally went back home. At this point in time, I do believe that Tizzy, Patricia, or whatever the hell you want to call her, knew what Yasir Saeed had in plan for them. And stupidly, she knew that if she went back to Yasir after she ran away and went to the Moreno's family in Texas, that if she came back, that her girls were more than likely going to be experiated off the earth. So she does it anyway. Even though everybody told her what was up, she didn't care. And I don't know what's going through her head, because at first, when I first started listening to the story, I was like, well, she was brainwashed or everything, something like that. But then you see this picture of little baby Islam holding an AK-47 wrapped in one of those headscarves, and then There's a picture of her with guns, and then her husband having a knife to her neck, and she's just like, you were just playing. Yeah, he was mean, but he wasn't being mean that day. And then one video she's saying she's Muslim, and the other one she's saying she's Christian. And I really don't care what you are as long as you treat people decently. I'm sure that the religion tenets don't tell you to go out there and be murdering people in your own family. I don't know where this honor killing comes from, but I'm pretty sure that the true religion doesn't ask you to be killing people in your family. So eventually they end up going back, and Patricia's back. And then Saeed comes and he's like, this is so great. Let me take you all out to eat. Come on, Amina. I'm so glad you're back. Let me take you out to eat. Everybody, let's celebrate. So the girls end up going, I guess one's in the front and one's in the back. And of course, it doesn't work out that way. He said he wanted to talk to him, but that's not really what he wanted to do. Well, he had him in the cab. He then discharged 9 bullets into one girl and something like 9 or 10 into the other one. And they are on the phone trying to call 911, which makes it even more aggravatingly sad, disgustingly abhorrent that they were put on hold. And you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to keep the person on hold. You're supposed to ask questions. You're supposed to be typing whatever you're finding out so that people can go in there and find these people and help them as quickly as possible. But no, the lady said, I believe it's Sarah that called, or it's Amina that calls and says that her dad just shot her and she's dying. And they just completely, there's no other way to say this, but they just get fucked around by the whole thing. And no help comes. And by the time help comes, it's way too late. And then the cops know that they screw up, so they want to put a crunch on the whole thing, and they don't want to release anything that that they've done in the investigation or non-investigation that they did. So the taxi cab ends up staying where it's at, and this Yasir Saeed guy turns up missing. And the thought is that he had a family member, lo and behold, one of his brothers probably pick him up. And then he's in hiding forever, I think like 12 fucking years before they finally find his fucking ass. And now he's in life in prison. But this does not help or solve anything, because how many women have been sacrificed within that same time? And not just say what they did to their brother, which they adored their brother, but then he turned around and said that he doesn't want anything to do with his mom because his mom's the reason that the daughters got killed. All of that brainwashed thinking that they pass out to you to make you feel okay about exerting a type of control over somebody else's body that you do not have a right to. And then the worst thing on top of it, I'm not saying, the religion, I'm just talking about the environment. They were put into a Muslim cemetery, which is just like the most decrepit place, the most lonely, the most desolate place that you could ever see. And you can hear this Patricia saying that's where she wanted to put them. Honestly, after everything that happens to your kids, that's where you want to put them. And then when the Moreno's mom went there for the first time and seen where they were, I mean, she just broke down in tears. Just broke down in tears. So I don't know. It's just like, it's going to be so hard to change this, but in this world, we need to do something to help these people so that this doesn't continue to happen. And then this Patricia girl, she wants to stand up there on her little soapbox and talk about how people didn't do nothing to help her kids and no, the initial thing that would have helped the kids is for you to leave the abusive situation and stay away, not get brainwashed into whatever it is that you bought into with this crazy man. And it's hard to say that. I know she married him when she was 16 and he was an adult, completely capable of manipulating her. But at a certain point, even animals know that they have to put their children first. So, August 2020, the police began a 24-hour surveillance on a home in Justice, Texas, which I think that Nina found. They observed Islam and Yasin entering and exiting the home in the shadow of another man inside the home. after two men had left after a week surveillance. They went in and they arrested the asshole. Authorities suspect that other people helped Saeed evade arrest over the years. No shit. And that Islam was in contact with his father and his uncles. Of course he was, because he completely buys into the whole thing. Between that and the fucking 911 people, this was a real shitstorm. So anyway, guys, if you are raising daughters, or if you're a man with a daughter, raise them to be strong, independent individuals so that the perpetual violence or perpetuation of violence is going to be stopped. If you have son, teach them to honor and respect the women. And that, I mean, you only deserve respect if you're getting respect, that whole level. But at some point, you just got to draw a line and walk away. Just draw a line and walk away. If it's not working, draw a line and walk away. It's tears that I cried over these girls when I first read this story or first heard about it so many years ago. And I didn't think they would find him. And I'm glad they did, and I'm glad that he's being punished to the full extent of the law. And with that, guys and dolls, cats and kittens, I hope everything has worked out well for you. I know the holiday season is coming up. I hope that you'll look to your loved ones and thank them and bless them and love them and be with them. Enjoy your holidays. And as always, if you see something, please say something. Be safe. Take care. See you next time. And I'll be finishing up with this trilogy with my last story that made an impact on my life with these type of situations. Have a good night. Talk to you next episode.